Thank you very much. That was great. Doug, what are the nutritional benefits of sprouts, and how does sprouts compare nutritionally to vegetables? What is different nutritionally between broccoli and broccoli sprouts, onions versus onion sprouts, radishes versus radish sprouts?
I mean, an analogy would be comparing them to stem cells. Like they are the junior version of the plant and they're very concentrated. So in their concentrated form, they have high percentages of the micronutrients, the phytonutrients, the encrytin proteins that they're in this concentrated format. So if you think about alfalfa sprouts versus alfalfa hay, alfalfa hay grows maturely and has a lot of fiber and insoluble fiber, but several of the nutrients get diluted. In the case of broccoli versus broccoli sprouts, the majority of people today that are consuming broccoli sprouts are consuming them for the purpose of getting sulforaphane, which is a glucosinolate which comes from glucoraphanin. And it turns out that the reason why broccoli sprouts can have 20 to 100 times the amount of glucoraphanin than mature garden stage broccoli is because as the broccoli is growing from broccoli seed to sprout to microgreen, the amount of glucoraphanin is getting diluted. So by the time you're at the mature plant, there's only a trace amount of that compound in it. So not all things are less, right? You're getting more fiber, you're getting more vitamin C, you're getting a lot as the plant grows. But on a macro level, sprouts are considered to have 20 to 100 times the nutrient density of mature vegetables of the same sort.
Okay. And are there any sprouts? Is there a pecking order, or is broccoli sprouts just gotten the most attention and actually onion and radish are also equally as good, or is broccoli really in its own league?
I think broccoli has been studied the most. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of peer-reviewed published literature on broccoli sprouts for their chemoprotective properties, for their ability to help regulate insulin levels in diabetics, for their acting as a inflammatory agent for detoxifying benzene from the lungs. But one of the insights that I had when I went down the sprout rabbit hole was that sprouts were vegetables, and vegetables are good for you. So, just for that sheer notion, all of the sprouts are good for you because they all have fiber, they have vitamin C, every sprout has every amino acid to form complete proteins. So sprouts in general are good for you. There are some sprouts, for example, pea sprouts, green pea sprouts, when sprouted in the dark for 5 days, produce DAO, which is a natural antihistamine. So there's things that are being discovered about the medicinal properties of sprouts that are unique. Now, in the case of chia sprouts and flax sprouts, they contain the medium chain fatty acid omega-3 in the form of ALA. So, that has higher concentrations, of the omega-3s. And so I think that we are just scratching the surface of this sprout revolution. And the more research that goes into sprouts, the more knowledge that will come out. Now, I have a question, Steve, that I'd love to ask Dr. Fuhrman, if that's okay.
Yes.
Dr. Fuhrman, we have an epidemic beginning around Ozempic for weight loss. And I know many people come to you for weight loss in addition to reversing chronic illnesses. How do you feel about sprouts stimulating the release of GLP-1 and other L cells in the body to help provide the same level of satiation that can be achieved through taking, the artificial weight loss drugs by slowing digestion and absorption of nutrients in the body.
Well, yes, I often discuss that point, is that one reason why people eating standard diet, they can't control their appetite and they desire more calories. And trying to have them eat the right amount of calories is almost impossible because the natural biological shutoff switches for eating are discombobulated or turned off. So we're taking a drug to like the GLP-1 inhibitors, whereas if you eat, of course, a healthy diet, but of course, if you mix together sprouts, green vegetables, beans, and nuts combined, the effect is to delay gastric emptying and stimulate the GLP-1 and make you feel satisfied. Further, so the sprouts can play a role in that, but also the resistant starch and the fibers, particularly the resistant starch in beans. Even a small amount of beans with a meal can have an effect to not just improve the lectin and GLP-1 receptors, but also to stimulate the apostat in the central nervous system that's controlled by butyrate, which is a short-chain fatty acid. Now, what we're talking here about is that the short-chain fatty acids are the body breaks down fiber and resistant starch into short-chain fatty acids. There are numerous short-chain fatty acids, acetate, propionate, butyrate, but butyrate is a particularly powerful anti-inflammatory fatty acid that has a negative feedback loop on the apostat in the central nervous system. So all these things work in conjunction with each other, as well as the nutrient density of the diet and of course the volume of the meal. So people, if they eat healthy enough, which I've been teaching for decades, we want a person to eat a diet that's rich in nutrients but lower in calories. And I'm saying that when you achieve nutritional excellence, it naturally has you desire less calories, the right amount of calories. The body's doesn't make a mistake. You get back in touch with your instinctual need for the right amount of calories. We don't see overweight, chipmunks and reindeer and coyotes running around the forests. They're all normal weight and they're all the same, and we don't see early primitive humans overweight either. It's when you eat so unhealthfully, these foods disrupt normal signals and they make us into food addicts. So at my retreat, we try to undo that. And of course, my teachings, everybody doesn't have to come to my retreat, obviously, to get, I teach people how to eat healthfully, give them supportive, information and tools, and hopefully they can even do this on their own. But food is highly addicting, and it's getting them to comply with eating a diet so healthfully. And when they do that, of course, over time, they're going to more effectively desire the right amount of nutrients, the right amount of calories, and lose weight and gravitate towards their perfect and ideal weight for the rest of their life. The problem, obviously, you're talking about with the drug way of doing it, it's like smoking cigarettes to lose weight. It's anything we try to do in a fake manner, like going through gastric bypass or putting in a lap band. They work temporarily, but the people really, in most cases, don't learn how to eat healthfully enough. And eventually, their ability to consume calories and their addiction still control their life. They don't get rid of the food addiction. It takes a lot of knowledge and training and education for people to learn how to eat healthfully and get rid of food addiction. And you can't just use a shot or a lap band to get long-term successful results, because as you know, they stop the shot, the weight comes back, and they're going to stay on it the rest of their life, or they're going to learn how to live healthfully. Plus the fact that in the history of medical care, doctors used to recommend estrogen for women, postmenopausal women, to help their bones be strong and to help think they're going to have less heart disease. And we found out after all these decades that actually it increased heart attacks and strokes and breast cancer, and we had to stop it. Doctors for years recommended proton pump inhibitors, kept people on them long term, but after 20 or 30 years, we finally figured out that those drugs caused heart attacks. And we told the medical profession is famous for advocating interventions that down the road, when more data comes in from larger numbers of people, when it's more widely used and 2 or 3 decades go by, we find that cancer rates skyrocketed, heart attack rates increased, and this intervention we thought was the magic pill wasn't so magic after all. So we don't know the long-term effects from these drugs. We have to generally go with the assumption that the more efficacious something is, the more likely, more toxic it is, more dangerous it is for long-term use. So we have to be cautious, and I could say that using nutritional excellence, so the person's brain functions better and their digestion functions better and they feel better and they lose their weight, is so incredibly effective. And losing weight is so easy when you eat right. And people are so excited about it. There's no reason they have to inject themselves with expensive and potentially toxic medications that could even cause cancer. We don't even know that yet.
Thank you. Doug, what can you sprout and what should we sprout? And also, what would be missing nutritionally if we lived off sprouts? So what can and should we sprout? And what would be missing nutritionally if we just lived off sprouts?
So fundamentally, all seeds sprout. So that's, one thing. What's been adopted for, the common terms of sprouting are alfalfa, radish, clover, broccoli, chia, lentils, peas are very popular for sprouting. And those can be sprouted very easily. And you can also, and those are all sprouted in a jar. If you want to sprout in a tray, you can sprout the chia and the flax. They will sprout there. You can also get the benefits of sprouting chia and lentils very quickly by just making them into a paste, soaking them for 15 minutes, and then continuing to keep them wet. And that sheer process is reducing the lectins, the phytic acid, and the enzyme inhibitors. And then you could actually sprinkle them on as a paste. You could add them to a smoothie. You could just, scoop them out and eat them. But when I'm referring to sprouts, I'm talking about alfalfa, radish, clover, peas, lentils, and those are the primary ones. Now, the only thing that I think is not in that array of sprouts are vitamin B12 and vitamin D. They're getting soluble, insoluble fiber. You're getting a broad array of vitamin A, B vitamins. So you're getting so much in them, but I think you're not getting vitamin B12. You're not getting vitamin D. So everything else you can get. Now, I'm a little bit extreme when I went all sprout based. I believe that, sustainability, if you're having an array of fruits, vegetable, seeds, nuts, seaweeds, and sprouts, you can have enough variety to achieve everything. But sprouts are whole food, plant-based, and you get these extra benefits of sprouts that are almost removed from the dialogue of the general public. And that's the benefits of living foods, where when you're eating the sprout, you're eating the entire plant organism, the root, the shoot, the endosperm, the embryo, the seed coat. So you're getting this living, enzymatically rich food item, and you eat the whole thing. Where even like a microgreen or something out of the garden, it's being cut from the root structure. And we know we eat root vegetables, we eat roots in certain cultures and certain items, that the roots contain, a lot of positive nutrition. So you can get a lot of fiber, but it's a total mindset. And what you want to do is when people are shifting their diet, what I'm saying is, and I want everyone to be healthy. I think the more sprouts people are eating, the healthier they'll get. But what I recommend is add sprouts to your smoothie, add sprouts to your cereal, to your soups, to your wraps, to your sandwiches, you can juice the sprouts. Find a way to add sprouts to your diet. And then, as opposed to adding sprouts to a salad, you can make the salad filled with sprouts, where sprouts become the vegetable that's the center of the plate. And then you could add, someone said, oh, my brother, he really likes spaghetti, right? So we make a huge bowl of alfalfa sprouts, radish sprouts, and broccoli sprouts. And then we marinate it with a unsalted, non-oil tomato sauce, with some seasoning on it. And he's like, it tastes good. So he's eating it. But instead of having pasta noodles, which are empty calories that will spike the glycemic levels, the base is sprouts. And once we did that experiment, we found out, hey, we could add tahini, we could add balsamic, we could add all these other different sauces to the sprouts and make them interesting for people to eat.
Thank you.